oh, it's all about the anabolic window, get your protein in, that's all that matters, nothing else matters, but I still go out on the town and don't sleep very well, but get that protein in, you'll be sorted. So this is a big problem. A lot of people look for these small little tiny things in trying to, improve their strength or their muscle building capacity. They look at, timing of protein, amounts of protein, creatine, fat burners, whatever, all these various things, tribulus, whatever, testosterone boosters, you name it. People are looking for the little tiny things. And fair enough, if you've maximized the big things. One of the big things that people often neglect, and it's, sometimes it's difficult with modern life and, everything else, but is sleep. Sleep is really, really important, and sleep is hugely important. Now, obviously I can just say this, and people will still say, well, I don't know, I can get by with whatever amount of sleep. But what does the research actually show in terms of the effect on muscle building? So you can actually look at this in a study, and that's what they did. They looked at muscle protein synthesis, which is the thing that's building your muscle, and they looked at sleep and sleep deprivation. Now they got 44 men to actually do this study on. Before the study began, they gave them 3 quality nights sleep, so they were all at a nice little even starting point to judge them off. And then they did 5 nights of the intervention. So one group had 8 hours sleep a night, and the other group had just 4 hours sleep a night, so the sleep restricted group. And another group they actually did was an actual sleep deprivation group and a HIIT session to look at the effect on muscle protein synthesis of HIIT training, high intensity interval training, because some people say, oh, there's the interference effect as well within muscle protein synthesis. So they did that for 5 nights, and then they actually measured the muscle protein synthesis on these people. Now the dilemma with this study is that they didn't do a HIIT session training group with the actual normal sleep group. So that would have been much more interesting to see the real effect of HIIT in isolation, irrespective of the sleep. But what they found is sleep did detrimentally affect muscle protein synthesis, but the sleep and HIIT group actually were as good as the good sleep group. So this showed that actually doing some HIIT interval training actually counteracted some of the muscle protein synthesis negative effect that deprived sleep had, which is really interesting. I was surprised by this one, but this is where it'd be interesting to do the HIIT group in the control group and see what they did there. But concluding all things, it does seem sleep deprivation lowers muscle protein synthesis, and therefore that will negatively affect muscle building and strength building, so that's not a good thing to be looking into. It looks like HIIT training, being high interval and intense, doesn't really necessarily have an interference effect here. If anything, in this particular study, it showed it may actually have counteractive effects for the sleep deprivation group. Whether or not it would have an effect on the actual group who were, getting normal sleep is another question, and we don't know the answer to that based on this study. But it's certainly interesting, and it certainly shows you get your sleep. Sleep is really important. So if you've got your sleep right, your stress is low, everything's good, your training is good, your periodization is good, your deloading, and so on, then fair enough, start to look at the smaller 1%ers. But if you've got terrible sleep deprivation, and you're trying to do all these other little things, you might be misplacing your efforts. You'd be better off trying to make sure you get to bed earlier, sleep better, and that will have a greater effect on your training effect. So anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.